Today on the TMZ Podcast.
Welcome to the TMZ Podcast. Derek and Jason here. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How you doing?
Happy President's Day, man.
Happy President's Day. It's good to be at work during President's Day. It's what I like to do.
It's okay. It's a little, before we start, it's kind of a sad President's Day because one of our presidents, our former presidents, entered hospice care. I found the timing of it sort of a little bit upsetting. He's been sort of a fixture in life out there at Habitat for Humanity. His post-presidential life has been incredible, and now he's entering hospice care. This is probably close to the end for Jimmy Carter.
Hospice care is close to the end by definition, I suppose. Yes, very sad. One president is on the battlefields of Ukraine. Another is running for re-presidenting.
That's right.
And then we have one who the most, I think, cherished of all, certainly not as a president, widely regarded as sort of not a great president, but as a man, no president, greater human being, I think.
Yeah. So,
all right. But Don Lemon, not president. So a lot of conflicting reports coming out as to what the next step is for Don Lemon. One thing we know, he is missing today's episode, or he's missed today's episode of the morning show that he's one of the hosts of.
We'll put "missed" in quotes. You know, maybe he decided to skip it out to let things cool down a little bit. Maybe he was told you should sit this one out. We don't know the details of that, but we know that he's not on the show on Monday morning.
So we know he's not on the show on Monday morning, and then there are different conflicting sources. Some are saying there are ongoing conversations about Don's future. One person familiar with the matter told Confider, he is a constant distraction. Not surprising. Don Lemon oozes constant distraction.
Yes. Particularly in this shift to the morning program, right?
Yes.
I mean, he was always somewhat very outspoken, very opinionated, even in his evening show, but maybe there was more room. He was alone there spouting these opinions.
Well, morning shows,
by
the way they're
genial.
Structured, are more sort of hot takey, right? That's what
Yes.
morning shows are. Sports morning shows, news morning shows, they're all hot takey, whereas evening shows are more sort of hits, runs, and errors, typically. But Don Lemon, he shifted to the morning show, was pushed to the morning show against his will a few months back. Now he's made this awful comment about Nikki Haley on Thursday of last week. So anyway, one person familiar with the matter told the Confider that there are ongoing conversations about his future. Others have said that it's likely he's going to be back at in the chair on Tuesday morning. We just don't know.
It's interesting. There's two things I know about these, and let's call this a soft suspension on Monday morning. Maybe it's not a suspension. Maybe he decided to sit out, but let's just take it for what it is, that he is not there, and there's a reason behind him not being there. There's two things I know. One is these suspensions on these shows sometimes become permanent. We just saw this with Amy and TJ on Good Morning America. They let them sit out. They conducted investigations, and then they said, you know what? We don't need you back. I think Don Lemon, and the other thing I know is that this show is not doing well in the ratings. So with those two facts, do you think he comes back? Because from my perspective, him leaving, if the show moves upward, he really has a difficult task in coming back. If the show stays flat, maybe they say, this is time to pivot away from Don Lemon and save this show with another team on the desk.
I think it's really important you gave that context. I think even more context is his evening show was failing in the ratings. Number 3 in the time slot by far among the big time morning shows, the cable news networks, Fox and MSNBC. Look, I was looking at it on Friday in the context of Don Lemon. Fox wins every single time slot throughout the day. CNN and MSNBC share the remainder of the audience. It's typically less in the aggregate than Fox is in total.
They're splitting the difference.
They're splitting the liberal cable news watchers, which are not as many as conservatives, so they get fewer viewers. Don Lemon gets shelled by MSNBC. It's a drubbing. Like he is farther away from CNN than CNN is from Fox in the ratings, and so. To your point, I don't know what the motive is to bring Don Lemon back at this point. Like he's not only his ratings are terrible; they have been for a long period of time. Evening show, morning show, but he's now a distraction. He's not particularly well liked. There's some bad blood that's developed. I just don't know why they would bring him back.
Yeah, he's starting to seem a little bit like a liability. I think this controversy that he stepped in is interesting and illustrative of the problem with Don Lemon is he sort of put his foot in his mouth. I don't think he intended to insult Nikki Haley in the way that he ended up insulting Nikki Haley. It was just sort of
what did he intend to say then?
I think he intended to say, back off Biden and back off this idea of competency tests. You shouldn't cast stones at people about their competency because none of us are really competent. Although he did say she's not in her prime. But I think it was intended to say we shouldn't be having this debate about people's competency in general. And
you're very kind.
Maybe I'm being too kind. But it didn't seem malevolent necessarily. It just seemed like a foot in his mouth.
Look,
he wasn't doing a hot take.
Don Lemon is an apologist for Democrats, for liberals. And that's the role he plays. I'm not even faulting him for it. That's the role he plays.
Sure.
There's nothing that the left does that is wrong in Don Lemon's eyes. And everything the right does is wrong. Okay, that's the position. That's Fox News takes the exact opposite, right? Nothing Donald Trump did wrong, but nothing Joe Biden can do right. He got caught up in that here and tried to make a parallel between Nikki Haley being out of her prime woman and Joe Biden being out of his prime man, and he got caught up in it. He didn't apologize at first. He doubled down. Yeah. It wasn't an intelligent take.
Yes.
Like there are points you and I talked about. There are points to be made about. Does Nikki Haley have the experience? Does she have the gravitas? Does she have the He can make any comments he wants about her, but not one that she's not in her prime
or the appropriate age to be president, which she's arguably the most appropriate age to be president is your early 50s. So it was very, very strange. What I meant is, I don't think he was trying to make a conservative point against someone who was left of center. They were both somewhat liberal. I think Poppy Harlow, her politics are close to Don Lemon. Yeah. They're not polar opposites, and he still stepped in it in this way. And I think you're going to see this time and time again because of the way Don Lemon sort of reflexively, to your point, just hunkers down and defends sort of the liberal agenda no matter what, and even at the risk of sounding kind of silly and stupid. The comment was stupid, and I think CNN might look at this and say, we don't need this kind of energy, this kind of controversy on our news network.
It's interesting you use the word stupid. So sometimes I'll say something in a fit of pique in an argument with my family or whatever. I'm sorry, that was a stupid comment.
Yes.
But it wasn't like it was stupid for me to say, and maybe it was stupid for me to think, but I'm not a stupid person.
Yes.
Are we going beyond that with Don Lemon? Because that comment was so fucking stupid. I don't even know what we're doing with that comment.
I don't know what to do with the comment, and the apology was almost worse. Do you remember the word he used? He used the word inartful. He said, my comment
That's
on this
the
morning
next
show.
day or hours later. He had a chance to reflect.
Yeah, talk to people about the comment, why it was sort of a silly thing to say, and he called it inartful, which is usually the mode of apologizing when what you say is, the substance of it is accurate, but you've packaged it in the wrong way. You say, I said it in the wrong way.
Right.
No, Don.
Right.
No, Don. What you said was wrong.
What was the right way to say that, Don?
There's no right way to package her not being in her prime. She's actually in her presidential prime. So the fact is you said something that was incorrect, and you didn't even apologize for it correctly. Then he got on with CNN staffers and started doing the name dropping of being pro-woman. He's just bollocksed every step after the fact because I think he could have survived this if he handled it differently. I think he really could have because it was a foot and mouth moment, not a malevolent take.
The question I have, and you and I don't know the answer to this, is how is he perceived in the hallways of CNN, the hallways of powered CNN? Now, he's lasted this long despite failing ratings for years. So you got to think that at some point the Jeff Suckers, the prior regime at CNN really liked him. There's a new regime at CNN. They may have been looking for an opportunity to get rid of him. This would certainly be it.
Yeah, you got to wonder. I mean, the comments we're hearing, Chris Licht is the new CNN honcho over there. He's apparently very upset about this, and we're hearing that the remarks were upsetting, they were unacceptable, and they're calling Don a huge distraction. You're right. When there's a turnover at a network, some of your allies leave. So maybe some of the people who were very pro Don Lemon may no longer be there, and he has to impress a whole new regime. And he's doing a pretty poor job of it. So if we're prognosticating here, I think it's going to be hard for Don Lemon to return, at least to this morning show. Now, whether they find another spot for him, maybe. But Poppy Harlow and Sarah Snyder, I don't think are going to be sitting with DonLemon anymore on the morning show. That's my prediction.
I think Don Lemon's out at CNN altogether by the end of the week.
Yeah.
That's my thought. Speaking of, now we're on to
other
relationships that might survive, right? It seems
right.
that Megan Fox and MGK are back together, happy as can be, lashing out at their critics?
I guess so. Let me set this up a little bit because this couple is hard to follow. They're very sort of out there, very publicly, on red carpets, making out with black tongues, drinking each other's blood and so forth. There was a time last weekend when Megan Fox did the sort of postmodern move of shutting down her Instagram, removing all pictures of Machine Gun Kelly, and following a few choice individuals, including Eminem, who Machine Gun Kelly has a long-standing beef with.
And then quoting that Beyonce lyric,
yes,
right? I forgot it. Quoting the Beyonce lyric, which was part of her Lemonade album.
Yes.
That
you can taste the dishonesty on your lips.
It was all about Jay-Z cheating,
That's
and
right.
so natural tendency to believe that she was referring to a cheating scandal with MGK.
That's right. Then they were seen out on Valentine's Day, and we started to say, oh, are they repairing this? They were seen walking into a marriage counseling facility, so it was like, all right, maybe they are sort of mending fences here. Now she gets on Instagram and says, hey, there's nothing to see here. I don't know what everyone's so worked up about, which I hate this move. Here's what she said on Instagram. There's been no third-party interference in this relationship of any kind. That includes, but is not limited to, actual humans, DMs, AI bots, or succubus demons. Her move.
Thanks for ruling that
succubus
out.
Demons. Yeah. While I do hate to rob you of running random, baseless news stories that would have been much more accurately written by ChatGPT, you need to let this story die and leave all of these innocent people alone now.
What a crock that is.
I hate it so much.
She started this whole thing
purposefully. Yes. She could have broken up with MGK and not done such a dramatic dishonesties on your lips, public-facing Instagram page. She has millions and millions of followers. She wanted this attention because there are quieter ways to do this, and now she's saying, what are you looking at? What's everyone looking at over here? Well, we're looking at you because you told us to look at you. So now if you want to mend it this way, don't scold us. Don't scold the media and say if you want to run random baseless news stories. We were trying to figure out what the hell's going on because you asked us to.
This is my least favorite thing about celebrity in the entire world. It is my least favorite thing that celebrities who court attention at every possible turn, not just celebrities who appear in movies and then don't want the paparazzi to follow them. Okay, I get that. This is
their whole relationship's a public spectacle.
This would be like the Kardashians saying, please don't talk about our relationships. How dare you?
How dare you?
Meanwhile, their entire reason for existence is that others talk about their relationship. These two, he's a music star in his own right. She really isn't anything anymore except MGK's girlfriend and a beautiful woman who doesn't work. When's the last time Megan Fox was in
Opened
anything?
a movie? I don't know. She had a very big moment
and by
early
the way,
on in her career.
I don't fault her at all. She has, and she's very beautiful. She's married to married.
I don't know. I think they probably did some sort of ritual where they
vacillated
drank each
back and
blood,
forth.
And they're probably
but anyway,
conjoined.
with a huge music star and is a public-facing person in that relationship. All good. She is monetizing what she has. She's getting fame out of what she has. All good. But don't then turn around and say, how dare you?
Exactly. I'm with you. I wish you well. You're a lovely couple. I think they're both attractive people. I have nothing against them intrinsically. But when they do things like this, it is very distasteful to me because they exist but for our attention, and then they're scolding us for our attention. Listen, she could have made it very clear. She's saying you're running random baseless news stories. There was one I don't want to say tragedy. That's too loaded of a word. But there was one unfortunate consequence of all this. MGK's guitarist, who's a very attractive woman, was dragged into this because the internet started speculating that she was the source of the disloyalty.
Only because she happened to be attractive.
Only because she was hot. and she said, I'm actually in a relationship. This is very weird. And I'm not sleeping with MGK. I'm just a talented guitarist. So I found that if she's defending her, that's the one element of that's okay to sort of step in. But she's not doing that directly. She's like scolding
She's not
the
coming
media.
out and saying, putting aside what my husband or MGK and I have, we really should leave this poor woman alone, is getting unfairly tarnished because of it. Ridiculous.
And when she says these stories could be written by ChatGPT, I'll have you know we have human writers here. And they are far better than what you get out of ChatGPT.
True, actually.
I was annoyed by it.
Going
Very
back to
annoyed.
the point about celebrities courting fame and then walking away from it, I'll never forget, this is about 10, 12 years ago, James Gandolfini, who we'll be talking a lot about, R.I.P. James Gandolfini was pulled up outside of a restaurant. I wish I could remember the name of it, in New York City. And there were thousands of paparazzi around. And he gets out, and he gets out of his SUV with his wife, I think, and just the cameras start flashing everywhere.
Blinding.
And he goes, oh, my God. And somebody yells, and he's like, you guy, I can't believe it. He's just like so frustrated to be getting out of the car. And somebody says, you came to, is the Weverly?
You're at the Ivy, sir.
You basically, whatever the restaurant was, and I wish I could remember it. You're at the Ivy, sir. And he goes, you know what? This is my fault. I can't believe that I did this.
He fell on the sword right there publicly? I love that.
My fault.
Yeah.
We're leaving, but this is on me. Because he realized that when this restaurant exists for celebrities to go to get seen by the paparazzi, they can appear on TMZ or Us Weekly or whatever it is.
Yes.
He shows up. He had forgotten that this is the kind of place it is, but he wanted nothing to do with it.
And
at
he
the
knew
time,
it came with the territory.
And it came with the territory. And although in the first instant he was like angry and kind of like, I can't believe you guys. And then he's like, you know what? This is my bad.
Yeah,
I made the mistake.
It's a good anecdote.
I love it.
There's something about celebrities of the acting variety and the music variety that I feel. Tell me if you agree with this point at all. Actors and musicians are courting fame very directly. They're in the business of the attention economy, very directly. If you're an actor,
their entire livelihood is based upon their fame, not just on the screen, but off of it as well.
Correct. So our attention is part and parcel of that pursuit. That's what you're going for. That's why Leo DiCaprio is in movies. He wants a lot of people to watch them. That's why he's famous. It's different with sports figures who often lash out at paparazzi, but that's the pursuit not of fame, but of sort of athletic excellence, which is not a pursuit that necessarily has to have eyeballs. It's just you're really good at a sport. You're not necessarily trying to be famous in the same direct way as musicians and movie stars. Do you see what I mean?
Maybe not.
And it's sort of an offshoot of that.
The only thing that allows
greatness.
you to continue to pursue athletics
is attention.
Eyeballs and attention. I mean, even more so, right? You
But the annoyance is sort of more understandable because you're like, I'm just doing what I'm really good at. Whereas acting,
I don't
you don't
see it.
you don't see it. You don't buy it.
I sort of see it less. I'd have to tease this out. I haven't thought it through. But like, you literally are playing a game out there. You're not offering anything except pure entertainment. Like, there's art, right? Is there a difference between...
I see what you're saying. Leo DiCaprio's making, he's kind of Monet.
Yeah, I mean, look, people have been acting on stage since humanity began, tens of thousands of years. You've had people acting, and I guess you've had people competing as well and people watching it. So maybe there is no difference. But I really don't
feel they're the same.
They're the same.
I think at the end of the day, LeBron James, whether we're watching him or not, can go play pickup basketball. He has something to do with his talent. If MGK and Megan Fox aren't looked at, I would think they would poof into smoke. There's nothing there. There's nothing but our attention on them. Anyway, so this annoyed us both, and I think that'll do it.
That'll do it.
All right,
guys.
see you guys
Thanks
next time.